Beep. Something's different. Yep, I shaved my beard and I'm not wearing my glasses because I just figured I wanted to look like I lived in the 90s for a few months. Not that I'm like quitting wearing my glasses, it's just for this video I figured why not? It's a nice different vibe. I've been wearing my glasses for like 2 years. That is so passé at this point. I mean, come on, the only thing I still do that I used to do in 2014 is pretty much everything, but we have also learned that I am not the best example of sticking with the times. Isn't that right, kids? Serious point for the whole video without any lead-in? Activate. I have come to the realization over the past week or so that I spend far too much of my time being entertained instead of doing things that I enjoy. Now, I have a feeling that a lot of you watching this are thinking, aren't those basically the same thing? And for most of my life, I would have said yes. Those are, in effect, basically synonymous ideas. However, a number of events have led me to the realization that they're not really the same at all, at least not in the way I plan out and engage and schedule / apportion / whatever my life. See, I've made no secret of the fact that I like to spend hours watching YouTube and trawling through IGN and Game Informer and just taking in lots and lots of information and stimulus and sitting here in my chair glazed over, staring at my computer, which is right here, and just being zonked, which I think is actually a technical term. But over my holiday break, which wasn't really a break, but during which I committed to actually doing things I really wanted to do, I sat down and actually started reading voraciously for large amounts of time every day, which is pretty much how I spent the entirety of my elementary and middle school years, which might be why everyone said I was a nerd, but that is an entirely different point. And I found that after a week of doing this, during which time I read 2 books, which is more books than I read over like the previous 3 months, that I loved it way more than I do when I waste my time sitting in a chair and glazed over staring at my computer. And in thinking through why I found that this thing was so much more enjoyable than what I had been doing, I realized that reading is in a sense a much more active function of the brain than is sitting down and watching the internet. And therefore, based on the inherent activity versus passivity, I assigned to one the active phrase doing things I enjoy and to the other the passive phrase being entertained. For those of you who don't know what the active and passive voice are in grammar, Google it. And I want to do much more of this one and much less of this one. Not that this one is entirely bad, it just seems like a complete waste of time most of the time. And my response to this kind of mental epiphany was in fact amplified by the fact that the second of the 2 books I read was a biography of Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. A man who, by all appraisals, was a comedy genius but struggled for his entire life just to sit down and actually do the thing that he was so great at doing. The man was a chronic procrastinator, a thing that I find very near and dear to my own personal heart / brain space. But the fact is, he loved writing and he knew he was good at it, and he had people around him who knew those things and who forced him and he forced himself to do it, and as a result, he will live on in history as one of the greatest authors of all time. And if you disagree with me, you are wrong, because Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is molto bene. So as I was reading through this biography, I found myself identifying more and more with him as someone who's always said that I want to be a writer but has never really actually written all that much because it's hard and I'm kind of lazy and just like things to come easily, hence why I like being entertained instead of doing things that I enjoy. But I don't want to be that way anymore. So I took the somewhat radical step of unsubscribing from almost every YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to. I kept like the ones that I really care about in a weird way, Rhett and Link and Wheezy Waiter and those sorts of things. But I don't want 4 hours of my day to be committed to this stupid machine that I sit here and stare at glazed over. I want to play guitar that I haven't done in 3 months, and I want to read books, and I want to write books. And I realize there's quite a bit of gray area between doing things that I enjoy and being entertained. For example, video games, they're somewhat interactive, but they're also somewhat passive. Watching movies, as a critic, I do that in a very mentally active way, but sometimes I'm doing it very passively. So really my rule of thumb is, how engaged is my brain? And if it's not all that engaged, I don't want to spend much more than like half an hour a day doing it. Because I'm sick of feeling like my brain is going like this when it could be going like this. Until I start getting old, in which case it's kind of just going to be... One final note, I'm sure you're thinking that like 3 months ago I made a video very much to this effect wherein I said that I was going to start doing active things for like an hour before I let myself do all the passive things. However, that was stupid hedging. I don't want to do that anymore because I just ended up wasting more time and it didn't really do any good. Boo. Also, side note, no, this is not a New Year's resolution, though it is happening approximately at New Year's. It is something that I have decided to do around this time of year as inspired by a book that I was reading because I hate New Year's resolutions. If there's something you want to change about yourself, change it now. That's my challenge to you. Let me know down in the commente section what are 4 books you're gonna read this year, because people don't read enough, and that's the number one thing that I can think of right now that is easy to do instead of being entertained mindlessly all the time. Even though people don't really enjoy reading, I've learned, which I find very odd. It doesn't matter, I'm rambling. Until next week, I am going to go create, and I'm so excited. Deuces.